Fight Club author Chuck Palahniuk and Fight Club film director David Fincher are absolute geniuses. They created a novel and movie that they knew would appeal to macho men, and then peppered that same movie with homosexual innuendo that they knew would just go right over everyone's heads. When you really take a close look at Fight Club, and I mean a really close look, you can't help but notice that the movie is riddled with homosexual undertones. And when you look at these undertones, it could suggest that the narrator is a gay man. And in this video, I want to point out every instance that I noticed of this homosexual innuendo, and then I'll let you be the judge. So I've said this now a trillion times, but nothing in Fight Club is accidental. So every instance that I'm going to show you was 100% intentional by both author and director. Now, what if I told you that at the very beginning of the film, they openly told you that the movie is gay? Guys, the movie starts with the narrator having Tyler's gun in his mouth. Again, not by accident. Why did the gun have to be in his mouth? Because from the get-go, you're being exposed to covert homosexual phallic imagery. Now let's fast forward right to the end of the movie. Just as the movie begins with homosexual innuendo, albeit covert, it also ends with that same innuendo, except this time it's overt and obvious. At the end of the film, you're literally shown a man's penis. Not a nude woman, not a nude man and woman together. Nope, just a man's penis. Did you ever stop to wonder why Tyler chooses to show gay pornography? He could very easily splice female, but he doesn't. And for me, this is Fight Club messing with you a little bit, blasting you with all this macho stuff, and then subtly also blasting you with all this gay stuff. Let's move on to our next example. Here, we're not far from the beginning of the movie, and the narrator's at one of his support groups with just men. And while embracing another man, he drops our third example of homosexual insinuation. He says,
"Strangers with this kind of honesty make me go a big rubbery one."
In the novel, we're given this same line with a little bit of adage. Strangers with this kind of honesty make me go a big rubbery one, if you know what I mean. To me, this is Chuck Palahniuk poking fun at straight men, because we have no idea what it means. But I'll tell you, it's that same big rubbery one that pops up, pun intended, throughout the entire movie. The narrator is turned on by the honesty, intimacy, and affection that he never received from his father. So when he gets it from another man in his support groups, he's literally turned on and equates the feeling to masturbation. Next, how about when the narrator is talking with Tyler, aka himself, in the bathtub scene? And this is what he says regarding the prospect of marrying a woman, which is a straight thing to do.
"I'm wondering if another woman is really the answer we need."
Okay, so if not another woman, then who? The only other option is a man. Now let's move on to our next example. Did you ever notice how the Gucci ad at the bus stop and the Gucci ad on the actual bus depict a man's bare ass? This is blatant homosexual imagery. And call me absolutely crazy here, but I tracked down the male model who was used in the Fight Club Gucci ads and asked him point blank if these were actual Gucci ads that the movie used or if they were created just for the film. Guess what? They were created just for the film, purposefully, and they depict a male model whose build and pose genuinely resemble gay pornography. Again, on purpose and completely intentionally, Fight Club is exposing you in the background and subtly to more gayness, having a laugh at you while the masculine male inside of you is nodding your head, enjoying what you think is a film just for you. Next, I want to draw your attention to the rules of Fight Club. While Tyler's announcing the rules, we have a man undoing his belt and another guy taking off his wedding ring. One man seemingly preparing for intimacy by undoing his belt before physical contact with another man, and the other man is shown renouncing his wife and the symbol of his marriage. And again, purposefully, they're doing this while Tyler explains rule number 6 of Fight Club, which just so happens to be
6th rule, no shirts, no shoes.
After which a man blows a bubble of pink bubblegum. Speaking of Fight Club, what about the actual fights themselves? This is prolonged physical contact between men, with no shirts and shoes on, and it's this prolonged physical contact that the men are bonding through. Next, what about the scene after Tyler and the narrator meet for drinks at the bar? The way this scene actually plays out and its accompanying dialogue is almost like some homoerotic flirtation. Think about it. After a night of drinking, one man wants to ask another man if he can go home with him, but he can't bring himself to raise the question directly. Perhaps the narrator's reluctance is because he senses the sexual significance of two men going home together after last call. Tyler too seems to understand the significance when he says this to Jack.
Cut the foreplay and just ask, man.
For our next example, let's jump to the scene in the Paper Street mansion. By this point, Marla's frequenting the rundown home to visit Tyler, and the narrator's pissed off about it. During a conversation between Marla and the narrator, Marla begins talking about a dress, and referring to the dress, drops this line to the narrator.
You can borrow it sometime.
Why would she say this? Now, I'm not saying all gay men are cross-dressers, but to me, this is yet again Fight Club sliding in another example of non-straight suggestiveness. Next, and my final example, surrounds the question of why the narrator had to beat up Angel Face. Prior to their fight during a Project Mayhem mission, we are shown 3 shots of Tyler showing Angel Face affection, all of which subsequently cut to shots of the narrator, who is clearly jealous, and in lieu of his jealousy, he beats the pulp out of Angel Face. Now, speaking of jealousy surrounding Tyler, the narrator is extremely jealous of Marla's relationship with Tyler.
Put a gun to my head and paint the walls with my brains.
And remember, at this point, the narrator hasn't yet realized his affection for Marla, and thus, at the very least, he is depicted twice in 2 separate instances to be in love with Tyler. We have a man undergoing a masculinity crisis attributed to an unresolved relationship with his father, and he responds to this crisis by forming a relationship and an infatuation with another man. Anyways, guys, am I wrong here? Is Fight Club not filled with a ton of homosexual undertones and sometimes overtones? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Now, 97% of you guys listening to this are not yet subscribed to the channel, so please do take a second and hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and I'll see you next time.